Okay, let's get into this. Try this for a second. Close your eyes. Picture a post-apocalyptic world.
Mm-hmm.
What pops into your head? Probably, gray skies, ruins, people struggling.
Yeah, grim survival, scavenging, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Now, just completely flip that. Imagine instead, like, vibrant colors, priceless art on the walls.
Okay.
Really soft, cozy clothes, amazing food, rich, delicious stuff. Grand piano.
Pianos at the end of the world.
And wait for it, it's a musical.
A musical. Okay,
Yeah.
that's definitely unexpected.
Right, it just throws out all the usual tropes. So we're diving into a review today of a film that does exactly this. The End, directed by Joshua Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, okay. Interesting.
And the review we're looking at is from Mary Munoz over at Moviescramble. She caught it at the Glasgow Film Festival.
Gotcha. Glasgow Film Fest.
So our mission here, is to unpack this review, figure out what makes this film tick, why it's so unconventional, maybe even captivating, and why you might find its whole approach really interesting.
And the first thing that jumps out from the review is definitely the setting. It's the first, major curveball.
Totally.
Because this isn't survivors emerging into some blasted landscape. No, Munoz says we're in this luxurious underground bunker.
A luxurious bunker. I mean, that detail alone is pretty wild, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Completely goes against the grain.
The review mentions the mother and father, Tilda Swinton and Michael Shannon. No less, they escaped the hellfires on the surface.
Right.
And they've raised their son, played by George Mackay, entirely inside this, plush bubble.
Exactly. And it's not just survival. It's survival in, serious comfort.
Right.
They've basically replicated this opulent lifestyle underground.
Wow.
And the reviewer points out they're not alone down there. They brought staff.
Staff? Seriously?
Yep. Tim McInnery is the butler, Bronna Kelly is the maid, and Lenny James plays the doctor.
So a whole household.
Pretty much. And apparently their job is not just looking after physical needs, but also, as the review puts it, sort of wryly catering to the family's massive egos.
Huh. Okay, so you've got this sealed off, perfectly curated little world, luxury underground, while everything up top is supposedly gone.
Mm-hmm.
But the review says this whole setup gets kind of shattered, right, by one character arriving?
Yes, exactly. Girl, played by Moses Ingram.
Okay.
And the description is basically that she knows too much. She knows what the surface was really like.
Ah, so she brings the outside reality crashing in?
Precisely. A reality the family's been, desperately trying to keep out. The reviewers suggest it forces this confrontation with their past lives, with the truth they don't want to face.
Okay, so the premise is dark. End of the world, hiding away, uncomfortable truths. You'd expect it to be just relentlessly bleak.
You really would.
But the review points out something totally unexpected about the tone.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Munoz calls it a masterclass in mixing tragedy with, believe it or not, humor.
Humor? How does that even work?
Well, she describes these rapid-fire dialogue bits, moments of physical comedy, stuff that apparently makes you genuinely laugh. But then almost immediately, the rug gets pulled. A dark truth, something tragic, undercuts the laugh. So it's this constant sharp pivot between dark humor and just gut-wrenching sadness. Sounds like a really unique rhythm.
Wow. And being a musical, obviously the score and the songs must be key to that whole dynamic.
Absolutely central, it seems. The review gives major praise to the score. Mary Stefries and Josh Schmidt describes a lot of the songs as these mournful ballads.
Mournful ballads. Fits the setting, I suppose.
Yeah, it seems like they function as reflections, on the life they lost or maybe the life they chose to leave behind. The review calls the score something to behold.
High praise.
Definitely. Says the writing, the musical motifs are incredibly memorable, stuff that stays with you. Sounds like the music carries a lot of the emotional weight.
And the performances sell it, presumably? The review mentions Bronna Kelly, the maid.
Yes.
Delivering what sounds like a completely heartbreaking lullaby about her son who died.
Oof. Yeah, that sounds incredibly powerful, especially in such a bizarre artificial setting.
Right. But then you also get moments leaning into maybe the absurdity, the humor.
Seems so. Like Michael Shannon and Tim McInnery, the father and the butler, doing an old-fashioned tap dance number.
A tap dance? Seriously?
Yep. Or like a gentle duet about finding courage for a potential romance. It's these kinds of unexpected musical moments that really drive home how different this film sounds.
And the singing itself gets a mention.
Oh, yeah. George Mackay, the son, apparently has a beautiful voice, impressive range.
Okay.
Moses Ingram, as Girl, delivers a moving song called Exhale, about, counting every second passing.
Poignant.
And Tilda Swinton gets a powerful solo, The Mirror, apparently reflecting on her difficult relationship with her own mother.
So a lot going on musically, but what about the acting outside the singing?
Just as strong, according to the review. Shannon's father is described as hilariously self-aggrandizing,
How so?
like encouraging his son to write his life story, but painting himself as this great altruistic figure, even though he was an oil baron who ran underground.
Ah, the irony.
Exactly. And Swinton's mother is described as intensely neurotic, very snobby, almost pathologically obsessed with keeping up appearances in the bunker.
Sounds like a pressure cooker.
Totally. And Bronna Kelly's maid is apparently just this bundle of heartbreak and guilt. The reviewer found her story particularly painful because the character seems genuinely, decent.
Right. And George Mackay as the son.
Sounds like a standout.
Yeah.
Grew up totally isolated, right? So he's described as physically awkward, verbally awkward, always saying the wrong thing because he just craves attention.
That sounds
Yep.
quite relatable in a weird way.
Yeah, the reviewer calls the performance really genuine, warm, and engaging.
And how does he play off Moses Ingram's character?
Really well,
Yeah.
apparently. Excellent chemistry noted in the review. Her character girl is much more wary, obviously damaged from surviving topside.
So she's the gritty realism to his sheltered awkwardness.
Exactly. She brings that raw trauma, those hard truths that inevitably make the family's whole perfect survival thing just completely fall apart.
So, based on the review, the core drama really seems to be that clash, doesn't it? The artificial luxury versus the harsh reality she brings in.
Yeah, driving all the character stuff, the conflicts, that seems to be the engine.
The review does mention one slight critique, the runtime. 2.5 hours felt maybe a little long.
Yeah, mention of a couple of pacing dips, maybe some scenes could have been trimmed.
But then adds, quite funny actually. But hey, it's the end of the world, you've got the time.
Fair point, I guess.
So, connecting this back to you, the listener, the takeaway from the review seems to be, look, this film, The End, isn't going to be for absolutely everyone.
Right, it sounds quite specific.
But if you're into musicals and you're looking for something genuinely different within that genre, this sounds like it offers a really fresh take.
And also, if you're drawn to character-driven drama, right? Exploring human conflict, the nuances of people in extreme situations. This sounds like it could be intensely engaging.
Yeah, the reviewer really seems to see it as this curious, quite brilliant study of human behavior, noting that the characters almost seem aware of the artificiality of it all, even of themselves. It uses familiar elements, post-apocalypse, musical, family, drama, but the recipe, as the reviewer puts it, is just executed with a completely different flair.
A new flavor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just to recap the key points from this deep dive into Mary Munoz's review of The End.
Okay.
We've got this post-apocalyptic world turned on its head, color, art, luxury. It's a musical blending dark tragedy with unexpected humor.
Right, that tonal mix sounds key.
Focuses on this isolated, wealthy family and their staff in a bunker, their world disrupted by an outsider bringing harsh truths.
With strong performances and a memorable score highlighted.
Absolutely. Powerful performances, impactful music.
And the reviewer's conclusion is essentially, maybe not for all tastes, but definitely significant if you love musicals and want something new, or if you're fascinated by intense character studies under pressure, a different take on familiar ideas.
Sure.
Thinking about what this review suggests, it's a film about survival, yes, but survival amidst, clinging to luxury. Art, pianos, comfort, performance.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
It really makes you think, what does that focus on culture and, frankly, indulgence, even when facing extinction? What does that say about us? About what we think is essential? How does that challenge the usual idea of just needing, food and shelter when everything goes sideways?
Leaves you wondering what truly matters at the end, doesn't it?
Definitely something to chew on.